Welcome to ZKast, everyone. I'm ZS Caravallo from ZK Research, and I'm here with Craig Durr from the Collab Collective. Craig, how you doing?
I am doing great. How are you?
Good. It's been like almost a week since I've seen you, so
I
almost a draw here. So
I'm having a hard time, so I'm glad we connected here on this recording here. That's great.
yeah. So we're going to talk Enterprise Connect. Both of us were at that event, and I've got some thoughts. Any initial impressions from the event? The last one in Orlando too.
That I think is a really interesting point to point out, right? So Enterprise Connect has finished up its contract at the Gaylord, which was a location. I am actually glad to see that part end. I think that's made it really tired. I think going to the Gaylord is the end of that. But they announced they're moving to Las Vegas, which I think has some benefits. And this is one. So Enterprise Connect has been getting this reputation. People are concerned that it's less and less customers showing up. And if you think about it, as many years as it's been riding there in Orlando, it's probably hit that market, that East Coast market, that Gulf Coast market of customers that come in. So my hope is them moving to the West Coast to Las Vegas will at least bring in another fresh load of new customers that are interested in coming and seeing it. That's one of the big upsides they have of them moving.
Yeah, I do think they ran their course there, and frankly, I'm although I was feeling nostalgic when I left, and I'm not going to eat steakhouse anymore and the stupid fish place.
Yeah, no.
The benefit though it had though, Craig, was that all your meals were kind of in the same place. Everybody knew, if you wanted to even pre-planning, like I did a video with CX today. I said, why don't we meet at the bottom of the stairs going up to the expo hall? Everybody knows where that is, right? And even from a reception standpoint, the receptions are going to be in a suite on the lawn or at Wreckers.
Yeah, I know.
And next year you could have one at Tao and Caesar's Palace, or Sushi Samba and the walk, and the Grand Canal shops and things. And so it's going to be more spread out. I do think co-locating it with HIMSS makes some sense because they're both Informa shows. Although I don't know if that's the best show.
I agree. So let's go ahead and talk about ECU taking one step back. I think over the years, you and I could probably agree that this has become more of an industry talking to industry event.
Yeah.
It's the idea that there are vendors, technology providers talking to analysts like ourselves, talking to channel partners, even doing their own deals among themselves as well too. And a little bit, like I said, if you talk to some of these vendors, there seems to be fewer and fewer badge scans of customers on site there too. So going to Las Vegas, one, does open it back up to more customers, but then aligning to another show, actually, I think they need to lean in and embrace this idea that they're an industry to industry show. It's okay that that's what they help facilitate. And although they're going to do HIMSS, which is a medical specialty focused show, one of their other shows they have, that same parent company Informa, is channel partners. And I actually would love to see them actually partner with channel partners, because I think that would actually not only embrace the idea of vendors get two audiences, hopefully visiting them, the end customers through Enterprise Connect, but then the channel partners as well too, connecting as well.
Yeah, no, I think that would actually be a more sensible show, but because Enterprise Connect has become somewhat of a networking show. It's great for people like you and I because we can meet with all our clients all at once.
Right.
But it does lack end users. So whatever they can do to respin the show is a good thing. I am hoping too that with the relocation, you do see an influx of new vendors. I think one of the things that I've noticed about the show year over year is, it's the same group of companies. There's less of them every year. And it makes the show feel like it doesn't have a lot of energy, where if you think of the impact AI's had, right? Like, frankly, a lot of the AI companies should be there, right? And
yeah, it's true.
Especially the conversational AI. I think I saw an investor chart that had like 150 conversational AI companies. Well, none of them were there. Right. But I think if you co-load with HIMSS, now all of a sudden there's some vertical interest there, and you could see that. So I think all change is good, right? And this show hasn't really changed at all in the last 20 years. So
well, this is one thing that has taken place if you think about it. In the very beginning, when I first attended this, I think unequivocally it was a unified communication-centric show.
Yeah.
And over the past years, and very much this year, the story of the conversation was around customer experience. No longer calling it contact center, but customer experience. And customer experience to me is one of the most immediate opportunities to apply AI for a lot of these enterprises for both impact, return on investment, and practicality as well too. So that's my third thing I'm seeing about the show too, is that unequivocally it's kind of moved from unified communications to talk around customer experience.
Yeah. So you can say that, but it's really contact center. And
Okay, contact center.
yeah,
We'll call it contact center and AI.
and I
But
understand why the vendors are doing that, but the criticism I've had with that, and it's not just for the UCC vendors. I mean, the CRM vendors say CX, the digital experience companies say CX. Everybody says CX.
yeah,
Nobody really understands the end-to-end customer experience, right? I mean, because the end-to-end customer experience, except maybe Amazon as a company, like your shopping experience, but it's really from first mouse click to product retirement ending. And so everyone's got a piece of that, and so they're all trying to influence customer experience through their little domain. And so I guess
right.
correctly, it's contact center centric CX is what the show's become. So
That's probably, but they're taking it, it's interesting. They don't call their customers customers. They call them brands. I'm helping that brand drive an
yeah,
experience from when, and you're right. If I'm shopping for clothing, I'm looking at Banana Republic and I'm online on the website, I'm not really dealing with the contact center element, but it's at the point in time that I actually start proactively communicating with them that I think these guys are trying to align that customer journey and that customer communication. Everything from chat to SMS, WhatsApp, talking on audio, and then some of them you're even able to support video as well too.
yeah. Well, now with that being said, 95% of the news coming to that show was CX related. And was there any notable pieces that you thought really stood out in your mind?
Well, you are right. There are some, and let's hone it in on the keynotes. The keynotes had a couple of key people up there. They had Microsoft,
Yeah,
Ring Central, Zoom, AWS, and Google, right? And I think each of them didn't necessarily do new product announcements per se, but they had stuff that took place in the last 3 to 6 months that they were highlighting there going forward. Um, Microsoft did have some things they kind of announced, like they talked about GA of some products they already talked about, which like Facilitator, Assistant, and things like that. Some agentic stuff as well too. Um, the other one that actually I think was really interesting, you and I attended Ring Central, and we got an early preview of their AI receptionist. And I think this was their first public event outside of them announcing it that they had a chance to really show customers and what have you. So I think it was the first time people really saw it as well too.
yeah.
Yeah, old news to you and I, but new to hopefully the customers that were there. So,
Actually, the one vendor that whose news I really liked was Amazon Connect.
oh,
And
interesting.
it's funny because I positioned them as a kind of a dark horse in contact center for a while, but they're not a dark horse anymore. I mean, they are out there.
Yep.
And this was the first set of Connect news that I thought they really weren't playing catch up anymore, and now going on the offensive where they were most of the news revolved around the integration of other Amazon services,
Hmm.
AWS services into Connect, right? And so, I mean, you could argue that there's very few companies that know AI better than Amazon.
Right.
Maybe Microsoft, maybe OpenAI, but it's debatable. And so they brought more of kind of the Amazon-centric AI in. They did some stuff with their global voice network. Amazon, I think it was, Q got some integration and things. And so I think Amazon's now starting to flex their muscles a little bit and bring the power of the greater Amazon to Connect, where it's not anymore about trying to legitimize themselves as a contact center, but about delivering experiences that are uniquely Amazon. And that's kind of an interesting they're going to be very interesting to watch, because if they can, make that work, I mean, my God, they got more, resources than anybody. So
Well, I think that you're right, but I'm going to actually hold someone else on a pedestal equal to what AWS was talking about there. Actually, I had a conversation with Matt Clare from Google Cloud, and he was actually positioning to me, although I didn't really see it on the stage. He said, look, we have a holistic approach, everything from search to ads to fulfillment on what we can do when a customer comes and touches us as well. Now, their contact center story, they are working in partnership with other vendors. I mean, AWS does a similar model as well too. But what they were trying to do What you don't want to hear is they were saying there was CX at every layer of that customer journey, and they were able to try and pull that together. So, it's nice to see people that have their opportunity to touch all these different touch points. Amazon, AWS, Google, actually starting to see the light of maybe how to put this all together. I don't know. We're gonna potentially see some stuff from Google next month at Google Cloud Next, and so we'll see what they talk about there
Yeah.
more in
I'm
depth.
actually skipping that to go to Canva, so I'm curious to get your feedback there.
Yeah,
And I went to the Google dinner, and they were pretty open about the fact that they're building their own, and some of the partnerships they have, UJet, are
yeah.
likely on their way out, and was more of a stopgap. My only issue with Google, Craig, is I have a hard time taking them seriously with anything enterprise. And it just
Mm.
seems like, for a long time, I remember every year when I did my UC predictions or CC predictions, this is the year of Google. This is the year of Google.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it's never the year of Google. And so I guess I'm asking you, why is it different this time?
Well, it's a good point. I mean, their breadth, you can't argue with it. You're kind of
Well,
talking about the depth of their integration taking place right now. What they're doing in Workspace, for example, which is their overall communications platform, which I think about a lot when I'm working with their team on unified communications. You're right. There's some areas where they kind of seem to be behind a little bit in some features, and they're finally getting them caught up now. But again, I mean, what can be different? I mean, I look at Gemini, and I think this is one of the most powerful AI tools out there right now. And if they actually have the opportunity to really integrate between these different modalities, these different customer islands of data, I think they can turn the tide. So maybe they might make your prediction for 2026.
maybe. Yeah, but people said that about docs way back in the day, and then they
Yeah.
developed stopped and stuff. So, I guess for Google, it's show me now, right?
Yeah.
And when at the dinner they were saying that we're the only contact center vendor with AI at the core, and I was like, everyone's got AI at the core. I mean, there's not a contact center vendor that doesn't. So if you think that's your unique positioning, you're already kind of behind. So,
Yeah.
but I will say with the resources they have, there's no reason why they shouldn't be one of the dominant CX vendors.
You're right.
Um,
You know,
but so the bigger issue I've always had with Google is that, like, if I put myself in Google's, the executive management team shoes, the amount of money they make from search and the amount of profits from that are massive. And so even if I put all the necessary resources in to go capture, say, 20% of the CCaaS market, which would be
mhm.
remarkable, does it really move the needle? Right. And so if it doesn't, then you throw kind of minimal resources at it. You capture what you can, right? It becomes margin accretive, and then you go with the kind of good enough approach by capturing the low hanging fruit, and then the amount of incremental work it takes to go build something that's best in class. I don't know if that's worth it to them. So that's
And-
I've always felt that about them, but I think they certainly, the opportunity is there if they want to go after it.
Yeah, that's a good. I like that analogy taking place. And so when you're saying they're not enterprise grade, I can understand why. That actually made me think of another person I was actually had a chance to sit down and talk to, and they were saying, look, we sell at enterprise, but actually our sweet spot is SMB, and that was Goto.
Too,
This
yeah.
is someone I haven't talked to in depth in a while, but I had a chance to talk to their GM of their Goto Connect business there, Damon Covey, and they actually had a couple product announcements. They also have naming aside, I'm not sure how they're going to get this, but they have a AI receptionist tool also that they're coming out. And they also take an approach of something that's a little bit more verticalized in some ways. They said, you know what, we have a very specialized customer experience contact center product that we're going to do for auto dealerships. They looked across their user base and said, we're going to be able to link, because a lot of these things have multi-locations, small phone banks at each one, but they need to share information. I like what they were doing in terms of embracing their customer set, which is at mid-size to small business. And the way it kind of came out, he said, you might not realize you have a contact center, but your customers think they do. Every time they pick up that phone, they're trying to reach you, and you got to be able to address what they need.
Yeah,
So
I met with them as well. I would never have thought of them as a contact center vendor. Frankly, I'd stopped thinking of them as a UC vendor,
yeah, that's true.
because they'd kind of disappeared from the market for a while. But they're back, and we'll see if they can, where they go from here. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
I
but
mean, they've always had a strength in that events business, right? I still get on Goto webinars a lot, Goto events, which is really interesting. I don't know if that's going to be the segue how they can pull that enterprise oriented conversation into the contact center or not too. So
Yeah. Anything else catch your eye? I thought the 5.9 AI Insights was interesting. They're using Gen AI to not just service customers, but actually to take the feedback from customers and turn that into actionable data. So that's the first bit of news that we saw that leverages the ACS acquisition, right?
yeah,
And there was a lot of like kind of one-off announcements like that. Zoom had some announcements with their agentic AI agents, sort of WebEx, and but
yep.
I think what I'm hoping to see between now and next year is some divergence of strategy into kind of a little more specialized area. Because right now, almost every vendor says the same thing, right? They're trying to help companies lower their cost of running contact center by bringing more agents in, and so because of that, all these vendors are going to argue that their products are better than each other, but from a messaging standpoint, they look a lot alike, right?
Yeah, CX powered by AI was a common rally cry. I also had a chance to speak to Five9. I spoke to Matt McGinnis, who's one of their VPs of product management there. I do like what they're saying there. He is actually taking some of that data coming back, helping to translate it into CSAT scores, NPS scores, things like that as well too, which I think is helpful, especially if you look at their customer base right now as well. Zoom, I think, is embracing their transition. They had Zoom AI Companion 1.0. Okay. Then they had 2.0 where they started integrating across the platform. And now they really leaned into their keynote about being agentic and agentic AI, what they're doing now. What's cool about Zoom, they're still keeping a lot of this AI functionality free across the workload. They're doubling down on some verticals. Like they just released their education one finally became GA, and they had their clinical notes one also become GA too.
Yeah, free except for where they charge.
Yeah, exactly. But it's so put it this way, they're not limiting the functionality. We can go on to other vendors that have similar models too. There's a lot of functionality in that, if you're a paid member of the Zoom workspace suite. So
yeah. So all
I
right,
like them.
Yeah, overall, it became a CX show, which I think
It did. That
yeah.
you asked the other things. There was very few unified communications talks. There was lesser known devices there. I mean, fewer devices, for example. HP Poly was still there. Jabra was still there, but they weren't front and center like they had been in the past.
Yeah, Shox had a big stand there too.
I know. They are really leaning into some of their UC devices right now. They've got the bone conduction ones. It seems to be a good market. Our mutual friend.
I use them when I cycle, but
Yeah.
I tell you, those things break pretty easily though.
Do they? Well, I was going to say our mutual friend Danny Hayasaka over at Call One. He likes them a lot. He talks to me about them frequently. He thinks they're good.
I like them, except they go through one about every 6 months. So.
Maybe it's just you. Maybe you're just like that superstar athlete, and then you get you're wearing the UC one when you should be wearing the water resistant one, right?
I have a water resistant one to stop working when it started raining. So
we should reach out to them and say you're ready to do some product testing for them as
maybe.
well.
Yeah. So all right. Well, overall, I thought it was a good show, not a great show.
Yeah.
I thought the audience was a little lighter than normal, but I'm hopeful that we see kind of a rebirth of the show next year in Vegas. And but I'm sure, I don't really see anything on the horizon that's going to make us, make it shift away from CX. I think that's the hot button for all the vendors, and rightfully so. I mean, it's where the money is, right?
It is. I mean, I've been spending, I kind of talked about it online. I've been spending this last 3 to 5 months kind of on a journey to better talk about and understand CX. And this show was one of the pinnacle points because I knew it was going to be very CX focused taking place there too. We talked with Ring Central. We had some conversations in Zoom. You're about to travel off to 8x8. You're going to probably come back with some more CX based news as well.
I'm sure.
To share.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to have a chance to sit down with Google again, and we're going to talk more in depth about what they're doing in their contact center or their customer experience end to end.
All right. Well, when you do that, let's do a CX roundup, and
that's how we should wrap it up. That's perfect. Good.
Yeah. Okay. And so I think, like I said, thumbs up for the show. There's some. I would like to see more AI vendors show up next year. I think there's some other topics around manageability and security that never get the kind of love at that show. as it should. If it's co-load with the healthcare show, you might see how, security and compliance, come back into it. And so, and one last point, congratulations to Nice, who won Best of EC, the overall category, which I wasn't really surprised with. So.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, there's some other good stuff. I'm going to disagree. This is our Roger and Ebert moment here. I think combining with HIMSS is actually not going to be a good alignment. I think it's going to actually alienate a lot of their past vendors as well that are already in a wait and see kind of a moment right now. And we'll see. I mean, some of the people we spoke about, like Zoom, who already have a healthcare oriented solution as well too, and some other ones, sure, they're going to love it. But I think they're missing. I don't think it's the right alignment. I think there's other things in the Informa portfolio.
Although what's interesting is Zoom, I believe, already sponsors HIMSS, and so they're both, right? So that's going to be interesting to see. So
that's right. That's right. Is Cisco there also at HIMSS too?
Oh yeah, in a big way. So
yeah.
In fact, I would suspect that they're probably bigger there than they are at EC.
That's true. That's true. That it's bad enough that we're running all over to see Cisco. Like you were in Amsterdam to see them. But
their standard NRF was like really big because it's not just WebEx, it's also Splunk and networking and Meraki. Yeah. And so I actually hadn't considered that side of it. So we'll see what that does. So but whatever the case, Craig, it's Viva La Vegas. I guess we'll see you there next year.
It is Viva La Vegas. We'll meet up under the sign and go from there.
So, all right. So on behalf of Craig Durr from the Collab Collective, I'm ZKast from ZK Regions. Thanks for watching. Hit the subscribe button. I'll see you next time on the next episode of ZKast.